In this video, we'll walk through a practical problem involving a cable assembly parts list. Initially, the list contains an error that prevents us from building the cable correctly. Together, we'll identify and fix the issue, ensuring the parts list is accurate and complete. Along the way, you'll gain hands-on experience using Amphenol catalogs to construct valid part numbers tailored to your application. To start, we need to understand the connectors listed in our parts list. For this, we'll refer to this catalog that covers the 38999 Series 3 connectors. In the top left corner of the screen, you'll see the part number for the first connector. According to the table of contents, we can turn to pages 25 through 27 to break down this part number and understand what each section represents. Here, we can see that D38999 designates a military specification connector, specifically, a Series 3 connector. The next number, 26, indicates the shell style, which in this case is a straight plug. Following that is the service class, which tells us the type of metal used in the connector's construction. The letter F represents the MIL spec shell size, which corresponds to Amphenol's shell size 19. The number 35 foot refers to the insert arrangement, while the letter P indicates that the connector uses pin contacts. Finally, the letter N specifies the keying position. On page 31, we find a detailed illustration of the connector along with its precise measurements. Here is a summary of the part number. Since we know the shell size is F, we can use this information to determine the corresponding thread size and diameter, both in inches and millimeters. You'll find the shell size and insert arrangement chart on pages 6 through 9. On page 7, we can confirm that the combination F35 corresponds to 19-35. This tells us the shell size is 19 and the insert arrangement is 35. We also learn that this configuration uses 66 contacts with a size of 22D. For detailed insert arrangement diagrams, we turn to pages 10 through 17. On page 11, we locate our connector. Since F35 isn't directly shown, we reference the equivalent 19-35 insert arrangement instead. By following the same how to order process outlined on pages 25 to 27, we can decode the second connector part number. According to the table of contents, measurements for the jam nut receptacle can be found on page 33. Since this connector has a shell size of E, we'll use the corresponding dimensions listed there. Returning to the shell size and insert arrangement chart on page 7, we see that E35 aligns with 17-35. Total number of contacts and their size is also indicated. For comparison, here's the first connector we analyzed. Just like before, we refer to page 11 for the insert arrangement diagram, using the 17-35 layout for this connector. Next, let's review the recommended backshell for these connectors. To do this, we'll reference the strain relief clamp PDF from Amphenol. Navigate to pages 5 and 6, where you'll find details on the M85049/38 part number. The 38 indicates a straight clamp, and the dash signifies that it is non-self-locking. For dimensional information, refer to Table A, which lists measurements for various shell sizes. In our case, the jam nut receptacle corresponds to shell size E. The straight plug corresponds to shell size F. Additional measurements can be found on page 6. Now, you'll notice the final character in the part number refers to Table 2. However, this table is not included in the current documents. Instead, you'll need to consult Amphenol's Materials and Finishes document, identified as PSTBS 256, for that information. Let's go back to page 6 and look at the cable entry sizes. For shell size E, the maximum cable entry is 15.60 mm. For shell size F, the maximum is 16.10 mm. Now, here's a summary of what we found. First, the parts list should have included 2 backshell part numbers. That's because the straight plug and the jam nut receptacle have different shell sizes. Second, the maximum cable entry for both strain relief clamps is too small. They cannot accommodate the cable's outer diameter, which is 22 mm. These two issues need to be resolved to ensure proper fit and function. Let's take a look at the Amphenol Backshells catalog. According to the table of contents, we can configure Backshells for our Series 3 connectors between pages 487 and 507. Starting on page 487, we see that for MIL Series straight connector, the part number begins with M85049/21. The next step is to select the appropriate shell size. In this example, we're working with a connector that has a shell size of 19. Next, we choose a clamp size. We'll go with size 7, as it supports our cable diameter of 22 mm. We then need to determine the connector length, which corresponds to specific measurements. Based on our selections, the part number we construct supports a maximum cable diameter of 22.23 mm. We'll omit the final character of the part number, which gives us a standard connector length of 38.86 mm. Finally, the W at the end of the part number indicates the plating finish. Unfortunately, the largest mil-spec backshell available for our connector, with a shell size of 17/E, is limited, as shown in Table A. If this limitation is not critical, one possible solution is to use a non-mil-spec backshell. For this, we'll refer to Amphenol's EMI/RFI non-environmental straight backshells, designed for MIL, C38999 Series 3 and 4 connectors. Now, let's build a part number using their part numbering system. We start with BM1, which is the family code for non-environmental EMI/RFI backshells. Next, we add an S, indicating a straight backshell. Then, we include an R, which specifies a spin coupling style. Following that, we add an L. To determine the correct connector group code, refer to page 485 of the Amphenol Backshell catalog. There, you can identify which group your connector falls under. The number 16 is chosen as the shell size designator because it corresponds to the 17/E connector shell size and code. This is confirmed in Amphenol's drawing number PSTDBS 139. The number 55 is selected as the entry size. According to Amphenol drawing PSTDBS 501, this entry size accommodates a cable with a 22 mm diameter. The letter A is selected to indicate the cable length. Drawing PSTDBS 501 also provides the standard lengths for straight backshells. The letter C is used to specify a clamp-style mechanical connection. Finally, the letter W is selected to define the material and finish. Here is our old parts list and here is our corrected parts list.